So I have the pleasure of giving the floor to Sophia Delair, the Secretary General of Euroshore, Sustainable Ship Waste Solutions. Sophia, please, the floor is yours. And of course, also a small introduction about your association, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and I would like first to thank you for the invitation, in particular, Ms. Delair, and thank, of course, the House of Tuscany for hosting us today. I would like to thank you for putting us together. I mean, I've heard very interesting presentations this morning from the present, from the future, for the future, and I think it's very important not, I wanted to say stop, but not to think in silo, but think with a more holistic approach, and I must say I strongly believe in it. So thank you very much. So my name is Sophie Delair. I'm Secretary General of Euroshore. Yeah, I first wanted to say that we strongly support the decision, the recent decision of IMO, and I think Mediterranean is a very important area we have to preserve, and for that reason also I'm very happy to be here with you. Next slide, please. So I'm going to introduce a little bit more what is Euroshore. Euroshore is the association of port reception facilities. The association has been created already almost 25 years ago in 1988 to promote, of course, the interests of our members, the companies active in ship waste management, and also to promote the use of port reception facilities. What we push for is an efficient and environmentally sound disposal of ship waste, and we work at relevant international policies, procedures, and highest standards possible for the collection and the processing of ship waste. Next slide, please. Here are our 36 members. I guess you have the pleasure to look at the slide later on. Next slide. Our mission, as you understood then, is to contribute to the conservation of the oceans by leading the best practices in waste management for the marine industry. What does it mean? It means also that we are partners. Unfortunately, often port reception facilities are seen as a burden, as a financial burden, but we would prefer to be seen as partners to the shipping industry to help them meeting their environmental requirements. Next slide, please. I realize it's a lot of text, so this slide and next one, to make it brief, is to say that port reception facilities were, I mean, the modern ones were born more or less with the MARPOL Convention. At the beginning, it was for MARPOL Annex 1, which means mainly oily waste from ships, and facilities were required for the reception of the oily waste. It's important to understand that all member states are required to provide adequate facilities in terms of quantity, capacity, and qualified waste. Next slide. And what I wanted to raise here was the importance of PRF, which was emphasized by the IMO MEPC 54, it was in 2006 already, as part of the chain for the implementation of the MARPOL Convention. Next slide, please. So in summary, as I mentioned, the first type of waste we were requested to collect was oily waste, since different annexes have been added to the MARPOL Convention, with the last one, Annex 6, the one we are talking about today, dealing with air pollution from ships. It was just a reminder. I don't know how familiar you are with it. Next slide, please. So what is Euroshore today? As you can see, we are mainly still European, with 34 port reception facilities in Europe. Our target is to extend. We used to have 2 members in Africa. Unfortunately, we lost one. I mean, the last years have been very difficult, and we had some bankruptcies in this sector. And we have, so the African one is in Nigeria, and we have one member in Fujairah. And I take the opportunity to mention that the Mediterranean is one of our target for expansion, because it's a very important area, and it's also a global issue. So we target to develop our membership with non-European members in this area, because I think it's very important that we collaborate all together. So to give you some figures, in Europe, our members represent 2/3 of the oily waste collected, with more than 4 million cubic meters a year of treatment capacity, and more than 250,000 cubic meters of storage capacity. And we work, we collect either by barges or by trucks. Next slide, please. In terms of collection capacity, in 2019, Euroshore members collected 2.5 million tons of waste. As you see, historically, it's mainly oily waste. Annex 1 you have here. And for our topic today, you can see Annex 6. This being said, it was before the entry into force of what we call the sulfur cap legislation, which might be one of the reasons. Unfortunately, I haven't updated figures today, because we are going now to launch a new survey among our members, and during the COVID period it was quite difficult to get figures from the members, because the business was not going as usual, and it wouldn't have been relevant neither. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, what we realize is that today, I mean, it's more than realizing. We know that many ships still leave EU ports with waste on board. We know what we receive. These are examples, figures dated a few years ago. It would be interesting to compare with new figures, but it gives an idea. Next slide. And we also know what is the waste production of a vessel. So we think that with maybe stricter rules and more means for inspections, for example, we would be able to compare the waste produced by a vessel and the waste discharged at sea. that's the point I wanted to raise. Next slide, please. So it gives me the opportunity to give you a brief reminder of what a PRF does, because against all odds, I had the surprise to see recently in the documentation presenting a separate chapter of port reception facilities, a picture of 3 bins on the dock with a capture and example of a port reception facility. So if it is what you have in mind, it's really a lack of achievement from us because a modern port reception facility is not that. When you see 3 bins on the dock, it means there is no port reception facility. So this being said, I mean, all our members need a license as a collector, and they need permits for treatment of the waste. So a port reception facility collect the waste. You have seen the figures earlier, and they treat the waste for a better valorization. Some of our members only collect. Some of our members have their own treatment facilities. It also depends on the type of waste. For example, for garbage, for a long time when coming at port, it was going to municipal waste treatment facilities because of the question of the volumes, of course. Next slide, please. So it's to just illustrate, we collect the waste mainly with barges and trucks, and I was very interested in hearing the presentation of Sulphur with your solution by barges. I guess some of our members are using maybe your products or similar ones. Next slide. So we have the storage and the sorting of the waste. I wanted to mention it, but it's not the issue of today, so I won't be long on this. Our members, as I said, have the licenses and the permits delivered by the member states because we are talking about hazardous waste in most of cases. So the rules are very important. For the garbage, there are still some issues because products are more and more complex, which means that the sorting is more and more complex if you really want to recycle the waste and go to the next step, which is the circular economy, of course. Next slide, please. Here I come to the topic of today, which is scrubber waste. As I mentioned earlier, under the revised MARPOL Annex 6, the global sulfur limit has been reduced from 3. It has been reduced, but I don't know whether people see on the screen or okay. Thank you. So two ways to reduce I mean the sulfur is the use of low sulfur fuel oil or the use of exhaust gas cleaning systems. It has been a little bit mentioned in the presentation of Sulphur. As you know, there are 2 kinds of scrubbers, the open loop scrubbers and the closed loop scrubbers. As a Euroshore representative, I must say that we definitely push for the use of closed loop scrubbers because waste is and scrubber waste is not only a sulfur issue, and we do think that we have the technologies and the development to avoid any discharge at sea totally, and that's the only way to really protect our oceans. Next slide. Regarding scrubber waste, I'm not going to push for any technology this morning, so I hope I'm in the right panel. It answers your expectations. But what I wanted to say, you saw that Annex 6 is, I mean, the youngest annex, and so a type of waste we have to collect. And unfortunately, we haven't yet achieved as much as we have with the other type of waste. Situations vary very much depending on the member states, which is an issue. The 27 member states do not have the same legislation. In that respect, we plead for an harmonized EU legislation, as we strongly believe that it would help meeting environmental requirements. Scrubber waste is solid, plusly, and liquid waste. Depending on the countries, also you can do the same with the waste. So this is an issue, and it has an impact also on the treatment. This uncertainty leads to higher difficulties to build business models, because you have to understand that I don't know whether you have to say fortunately or unfortunately, but that's the way it is. It has to be a kind of win-win situation. Let's say investments are important for new technologies, so it means that on the other end, except if, I don't know, member states decide to pay for the services, but having clean oceans as a cost, we found the solutions for road transport, for air transport. It's time maybe for maritime transport. So as I said, some technologies require expensive investments, which means that we need to receive critical volumes to make the investments. And actually, most of our members are ready to receive scrubbers, but we don't receive, I mean, we don't receive many calls for discharging scrubber waste. So I just put a question mark. There are many things going on. We have seen that there are on-board solutions, but we do believe that we should have received definitely more. So there are still a lot to do. For example, one of our members based in Hamburg, we mentioned Hamburg this morning. I don't want to focus on Hamburg, but just to stay in the same area. They got many inquiries in 2018, 2019 about the possibilities to collect scrubber waste. But since they haven't received that much. So again, question mark. Another Euroshore members based in the Netherlands questions itself as well. In a port, I mean, in area, for example, I don't remember the exact figures, but it was 1 on 1,000 vessels coming in. That's about the proportion, the ratio, only called for discharging scrubber waste. So where is that waste? It is important also to understand that there is a cost issue. If I remember well, the ratio for buying an exhaust gas cleaning system between open loop and closed loop, it's a ratio for 1 to 3, but we are talking about millions euros. So that's we understand, of course, an issue also. So here, what I wanted to say, and I thank you again for this invitation, is the lack probably also of coordination on common goals and taking the same measures for all, because we are not facing a national issue, we're not facing a European issue, we are facing a global issue. Next slide, please. So depending on the legislation and the volumes received today, what we have is information I got from our members. It's physical chemical treatment, and the water treated is released after treatment, in some cases in rivers, or it can be in the ocean. But there is an issue still with the solid part of it, of the residues. And unfortunately, for the time being, in many cases, it's either burned or landfilled, which is not the end of the story, or can't be the end of the story, of course. So we, as I said at the beginning, compared with the other MARPOL annexes, we haven't achieved yet what we have to do. So I'm very happy that today we can exchange with different type of stakeholders, and we really need an holistic approach, as I said. Next slide, please. And what I have forgotten to tell you also is, because of the critical volumes we need, we have also a problem of availability of specific treatment facilities. And for some member states, they do not authorize, for example, landfilling, or sometimes there is no other solution. So then we need the possibility to transfer waste from one EU member state to another one, and the question of the transport of hazardous waste is very important as well. So I agree that maybe my story is not the one expected today. But if I summarize, we think at Euroshore that we need a total ban of any discharge at sea globally, and this included with scrubber waste. And this will also boost the development of adequate technologies. Our members have been approached by different providers of technologies. I've even heard solutions with algae, you say in English? Yeah. So that's very interesting and promising. To get the critical volumes to invest in these technologies and build sustainable business models, we need to work harder. There are still years with the use of fossil fuel. I mean, alternative fuels are under development, but the availability won't be there for tomorrow. We all hope the day after tomorrow, but our point is to say the discussion of fossil fuel is not ended. I know that for many politicians, it's maybe 6 years to think about the future, but in parallel, we have to look at the present situation and the transitional period, and for that, we as port reception facilities think we are part of the solution to collect all type of waste, including scrubber waste, and develop the solutions to better treat them, because it's time to act now. I think we all agreed in this, the presentation earlier. So I do plead for stronger collaboration between all stakeholders, and I take the opportunity to mention today that if in the framework of your project you have research programs under development or workshops for discussions going on, of course, Euroshore would be interested in participating and bringing our experience from the field. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions,